Peace family, back at it again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the law of correspondence. Basically all this is how you perceive others is a mirror of your internal self. This is actually one of the pillars of reality creation and energy work. As within, so without. I'm sure you heard that saying before. The outer world is a giant living mirror. Every reaction we have to someone else is actually a diagnostic report of our own internal state. You want to look at reality as a mirror, not a window. Most people look at the world through a window, believing they are passively observing independent external events. The traits that trigger you or captivate you in others are actually dormant fragments of your own psyche being released back to you. You don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. Let's talk about psychological projection in the disowned self. Why do we get so angry or annoyed at specific people or situations? When someone intensely irritates you, it's rarely about their behavior. It's about what their behavior represents. For example, if someone's laziness infuriates you, it's often because you have suppressed your own permission to rest, forcing yourself to grind constantly. This is the suppressed shadow. If someone's loud, unapologetic confidence triggers you, it's usually because part of you wishes you can occupy that much space, but your conditioning tells you to stay small. This is known as the envy shadow. If it's simply just an observation, it's about them. There's no feelings involved, it's just data. If it's a trigger or an emotional charge, it's a mirror of your internal self. Now, the mirror isn't just for the dark stuff. Let's talk about projecting the golden shadow. Just as we project our flaws, we also project our unmanifested greatness. When you deeply admire a creator, leader, or an artist and think, I can never be like them, you are projecting your own dormant potential. But as we know, perception creates reality. If you admire someone or something and get inspired or motivated, that person or thing is simply acting as a mirror to show you where you're vibrating at. The resonance you feel with their greatness is proof that the same frequency exists inside of you. Let's talk about the trap of the unconscious echo. Reacting blindly to the mirror keeps people trapped in the loop of low vibrational realities. If your internal state is defensive and fearful, you will perceive neutrality from others as hostility. Because you perceive hostility, you react aggressively. Because you react aggressively, they become hostile. You have successfully forced the mirror to validate your internal world, or rather, your internal wounds. That just described pretty much 100% of all misunderstandings. If you want to see where someone is internally, simply do nothing. Their perception of that nothing will tell you everything you need to know. You aren't fighting them, you're actually fighting your own echo. With this understanding, you can literally transmute everyone or everything you come across in your experience called life. Now ask yourself, are bad people or situations even really bad? Or did they just lose control of their internal selves? And it's reflecting externally. And what does that say about you if you perceive things as negative instead of just perceiving them as they are? Do you have control over your internal self and your external mirror? Ask yourself that question. Let me give you a 3-step mirror ritual to use in your daily life next time you are triggered. Number 1, catch the projection. The moment you feel a surge of judgment, irritation, or obsession with someone else's behavior, hit the pause button. Say to yourself, the mirror is active. Step number 2, isolate the quality. Strip away the person's face and specific story. What is the exact energy of the trait triggering you? Is it arrogance, lack of boundaries, neediness, selfishness? Now to do this takes radical honesty. You're not above or below any of these things. It just is what it is. Step number 3, ask the alchemical question in order to transmute. Turn the focus around and ask yourself the hard question. Where in my own life am I doing this? Or where am I completely refusing to allow myself to do this? Let the answer hit you completely without shame, and use that awareness to adjust your own boundaries or behavior. The outer world doesn't just reflect who we are, it reflects what we are suppressing, what we secretly desire, or the energetic delay of our past thoughts. Let's talk about the aggravation mirror. This happens when someone's behavior completely infuriates you. This usually happens because that person is doing something that you have completely forbidding yourself from doing. For example, let's talk about the workplace slacker. We all experience this in one way, shape, or form. Imagine you work 60 hours a week and you pride yourself on your intense work ethic, and you completely despise a coworker who casually takes extra long lunches, sets strict boundaries, and leaves right at 5 p.m. or whenever it is the job is supposed to be over. They leave. They up out of there, whether the work is done or not. Now let's talk about the mirror in this situation. Now, believe it or not, the anger isn't actually about the coworker's work ethic. The coworker actually represents your suppressed desires to rest and set boundaries, because you hold a subconscious rule stating, I am only worthy if I burn myself out. All my hard workers out there know what I'm talking about. Anyone breaking this rule triggers you instantly. Let's talk about the loud, attention seeking friend or person you may know. This is someone who dominates the room, talks loudly, and acts unapologetically vibrant, and may be labeled as obnoxious or narcissistic. Often, you were conditioned as a child to be quiet, polite, and not take up too much space. Seeing someone else fearlessly claim attention triggers your own unexpressed desire to be seen and heard, thus creating another projected mirror. Let's talk about the relationship loop mirror, the everyone abandons me timeline. Imagine a person enters a new relationship or friendship carrying a deep, unhealed fear of rejection. Because their internal state is dialed to defensive and hypervigilant, they perceive a delayed text message or quiet evening not as neutral, but as a sign that the other person is losing interest. They react by pulling away, acting passive aggressive, or starting a fight. Eventually, the partner or friend gets exhausted and leaves. Now, in this example, the outer world complied perfectly with the internal blueprint. They didn't fight an external enemy, they fought their own internal echo until it manifested into the physical reality. Let me give one last example called the material mirror. How we treat our current physical environment is very important. The beaten down car analogy. Imagine a person drives a rusty, messy, unreliable car, and they treat it poorly because they hate it and want a luxury vehicle instead. The messy, neglected car is a direct reflection of their internal state of scarcity and resentment. If they want a luxury reality, they must first shift their internal state to abundance. If they clean that old car, maintain it, and treat it with the exact respect they would give a Lamborghini, the mirror cannot tolerate the mismatch between their high vibrational internal state and their low vibrational external reality. Reality is forced to rearrange itself to open doors for an upgrade. Let me make this more practical for you. You ever knew someone with an old vehicle, but they take care of it so well, look newer than a new vehicle? And on the flip side, someone with a newer vehicle, but they treat it so bad, it looked raggedy and worse than an old vehicle that's treated good. Both of these things are external mirrors of internal state of beings. I'm gonna end on this. A spiritual bypasser, like in my last video, looks at a toxic relationship and says, oh, that's just a projection of your unhealed trauma. It has nothing to do with me. But an alchemist looks at the same messy interaction and steps in the middle way and asks, what is the mirror showing me about my own boundaries, my own hidden anger, or what I'm settling for? And with that being said, peace to you, family.